Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from today. I'd love to know. And if you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, let's jump in.
It started on a quiet Wednesday night at the Skywatch station in Arizona. Dr. Emily Carter had just taken a sip of cold coffee when the signal monitor began flashing red. For a second, she thought it was a glitch, maybe a satellite bouncing noise back at them or just a weather blip. But as she leaned in closer, her heart skipped. The pattern wasn't random. It was perfect. A soft, repeating rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. "Martin, can you double-check Channel 6? I think we've got something weird," she called over to her assistant. Martin pushed his chair closer, squinting at the numbers on the screen. His eyes widened. "That's not ours," he whispered. They stayed up all night. The signal kept coming, changing slightly every few hours, but always keeping the same rhythm, like it was waiting for them to catch on. By morning, Emily had cracked the first part of the code. Just 3 words blinked across the screen. "We come in peace." The next day, the president went on live TV. His face looked calm, but everyone could see the worry in his eyes. "Today," he said, "we make history. We are not alone." Some people cheered, some cried. Others locked their doors and didn't come out. But everything changed 6 days later, when the sky opened up. A ship unlike anything anyone had ever seen floated down from the stars. It wasn't shaped like a plane or a rocket. It looked like a silver whale, glowing with soft blue light, moving without sound. It hovered over the Pacific Ocean, still and silent. People across the world stared at their screens, frozen. In a hidden military command center, Commander Jason Grant watched the live feed with a clenched jaw. His fingers tapped against the desk. "That thing's not here just to say hello," he muttered. Then the ship spoke, not with words, but a voice, translated through Earth's systems, rang through speakers everywhere. "People of Earth," it said, "we are the Galactic Council. We come to welcome you into the stars." The voice was calm, almost friendly, but something about it felt too smooth, too practiced. And that's when it all really began. The message played on every screen, every radio, every device connected to Earth's networks. The voice was steady, polite, but powerful, like a teacher who expected everyone to listen. It introduced itself as Ambassador Ryloth, speaking on behalf of the Galactic Council, a union of over 100 alien civilizations that spanned the stars. "We have watched your world grow. We admire your spirit, your creativity, your strength," the voice said. "And now, the time has come. Earth will join us. Together, we will build something greater." At first, people were amazed. Social media exploded with memes, theories, and welcome messages to the aliens. News stations ran interviews with scientists, priests, and conspiracy theorists. Some saw this as the greatest moment in human history. Others felt something wasn't right, but couldn't explain why. In Geneva, leaders from every major country met at the United Nations under tight security. The aliens had asked to speak directly to Earth's governments, and they had agreed. That's when the real terms were shared. Ambassador Ryloth stood tall, 7 feet of shimmering green skin, 4 arms, and no visible mouth, but a voice that spoke perfectly through the translator device that floated beside him. "We offer you knowledge, technology that can clean your oceans, cure your diseases, and end your wars. We offer you protection from threats beyond your stars. In return, we ask only for simple cooperation." At first, the list seemed fair. No building warships beyond Earth's orbit. Sharing Earth's rare resources with the Council, minerals, metals, biological samples. Allowing observation stations on the moon. Just rules to keep things peaceful, they said. But when Dr. Emily Carter saw the full agreement, her stomach turned. The fine print was buried under layers of alien legal terms. She translated it with help from a council-provided language tool, and the truth became clear. If Earth signed the treaty, they would become a Category 3 developing species. That meant no voting rights, no say in council decisions, no power to refuse. Earth would be assigned a council-appointed guardian species, basically a babysitter. Earth would be allowed to grow, but only under close watch. They called it a partnership. But Emily saw it for what it really was, a leash. Commander Jason Grant read the same files, standing beside her in a quiet hallway outside the meeting room. "They want to keep us weak," he said, his voice low. "Just strong enough to work, not strong enough to fight." Emily nodded slowly. "And if we say no?" He tapped the screen, showing an annex near the bottom. A single sentence. Unaligned worlds risk exclusion from interstellar trade, support, and protection, and may be subject to resource reclamation by order of the Council. "That means blockades," Jason said. "Maybe worse." Emily leaned against the cold wall, her head spinning. "So we either say yes and lose our freedom, or say no and risk everything." The next day, the Council's ship, named the Unity of Stars, lowered a small, shimmering pod into the Atlantic Ocean. From there, it unfolded into a temporary alien embassy. Not a building, but a living structure that pulsed with light and heat, like a jellyfish made of metal and glass. More ambassadors arrived. More demands followed. Earth would give up 10% of its uranium and rare minerals every Earth year. It would share 5,000 species for biological study, plants, animals, even microbes. Earth's space programs would be supervised by Council monitors, and all this before humans would even be allowed to attend Council meetings as observers. It was clear now. This wasn't an invitation. It was a takeover, just dressed up in pretty words. Emily found Jason on the roof of the UN building that night, staring up at the stars. He didn't look angry. Just quiet, focused. "They're afraid of us," he said, not looking away from the sky. "They wouldn't be this careful if we didn't scare them, even just a little." Emily looked at him. "You really think that?" Jason nodded. "We've done more in 200 years than some of their species did in 2000, and they know it. They don't want partners. They want us on a short leash, before we get too strong." Behind them, the city lights of Geneva flickered under the shadow of the Unity of Stars. All around the world, people watched and waited, unsure of what was coming next. Some hoped, some prayed, and some, like Emily and Jason, were already thinking about how to fight back. Because Earth had a choice, and some people weren't ready to give up just yet. 3 days after the alien embassy unfolded itself in the Atlantic, Earth's leaders gathered inside it for the first official negotiation. The structure was alive. Its walls hummed and pulsed like a giant heart, giving off a low vibration that made the floor feel like it was breathing beneath their feet. The ceilings were high and curved, glowing softly, and the air smelled like rain after lightning. Nothing about it felt human. Dr. Emily Carter walked beside Commander Jason Grant, both dressed in formal dark suits, their security badges glinting under the alien lights. Emily had been chosen as the scientific advisor to the Earth delegation. Jason was there to observe and protect. Neither of them had been told much, just that the Council wanted peaceful dialogue. Inside the central chamber, 12 alien ambassadors waited around a wide, circular platform. They came in all shapes: tall, scaled beings with gold-tinted eyes, short creatures with soft fur and 3 arms, even one that looked like a walking shell with glimmering legs. In the middle stood Ambassador Ryloth, still calm, still unreadable. "Welcome," he said through the floating translator, his 4 arms spread in what looked like a gesture of peace. "We are pleased to begin Earth's integration into the greater galactic community." President Malik, Earth's elected global representative for the occasion, nodded. "We're honored by your invitation, but before we sign anything, we'd like to understand the expectations more clearly." Ryloth's skin shifted color. Faint ripples of blue and silver shimmered across it. He stepped forward. "Of course. We believe in transparency." He motioned to a side panel, and a large screen lit up, displaying symbols that translated themselves into English as they appeared. "This is the Council Compact of Developmental Species," Ryloth explained. "It outlines Earth's new role as a developing civilization." Emily's eyes narrowed as she scanned the points. Earth will provide 12% of its annual mineral output, especially rare elements such as iridium, uranium, and lanthanum. All spacefaring vessels must remain within Earth's gravity well unless accompanied by a Council escort. Earth's digital networks will be upgraded by Council technology for better oversight and protection. A Council-appointed envoy will reside in Earth's capital and may advise or override decisions in matters of interstellar importance. She looked at Jason, who had folded his arms. His expression didn't change, but she knew he was memorizing every word.
President Malik cleared his throat. Some of these terms seem heavy. What do we receive in return? Knowledge, Ryloth answered. Clean energy, disease cures, communication systems that reach across light years, medical devices that can regrow lost limbs. You will live longer, healthier lives. Your planet will be safe. And freedom? Jason asked, speaking for the first time. The room quieted. Ryloth turned slowly to face him. You retain local sovereignty, he said after a pause. But galactic peace requires structure. Independence is relative. The greater good must come first. The words sounded smooth, polite, reasonable. But to Jason and Emily, they tasted like a cage with golden bars. Behind closed doors later that evening, the human delegation met in the small chamber Earth had been given inside the alien structure. President Malik sat with Emily, Jason, and two other advisors. Lisa Hawthorne, a career diplomat, and Dr. Adi Varma, an expert in interstellar biology. Emily had brought a small data chip. I've been studying the data they gave us, comparing their biology files across species. I found something strange. She plugged the chip into the portable screen. Dots appeared, charting neural complexity and adaptability. Most of the council species clustered in a tight group, but one dot sat far outside the pattern. That one? Jason asked. That's us, Emily said. Humans. Our brain plasticity is off the charts. According to their own data, we're one of the most adaptive species in their entire database. Dr. Varma leaned in. That's not something they're sharing publicly. Emily shook her head. Number. And there's more. She flipped to another screen. They've labeled us precursor lineage positive. I think they believe we're descendants of an ancient species that once ruled the galaxy, before the Council even existed. Jason whistled softly. So, they're not just trying to guide us. They're trying to keep us from becoming whatever our ancestors were. They're scared, Emily said quietly. Scared of what we might become. There was silence in the room. Then Lisa spoke. If we sign their treaty, they get everything they want. Access to our planet, our resources, and control over our future. Jason added, and if we refuse, they'll isolate us. Maybe worse. President Malik looked tired, older than he had that morning. We can't go public with this. Not yet, Most of the world thinks they're our saviors. So what do we do? Lisa asked. Jason's eyes met Emily's. We buy time. Play along for now. And while they watch us, he paused. We start watching them. Emily nodded. And we find out everything they're hiding. That night, while the world slept under the stars, a quiet shift had begun. Earth wasn't going to kneel. Not yet. The council had come expecting easy control. But what they didn't know was that humans don't give up control easily. And some of them were already planning how to take it back. Over the next week, Earth smiled for the cameras. Leaders gave speeches about cooperation. Scientists shook alien hands on camera. News anchors beamed with pride as they showed images of humans and aliens working side by side. The council's representatives appeared at universities and hospitals, handing out small devices that could scan for diseases, clean polluted water, even repair broken bones. It all looked perfect. But behind the curtain, a very different kind of work had begun. In a decommissioned military base deep beneath the Colorado mountains, officially listed as closed since 2041, a handful of humans gathered in secret. President Malik had approved the creation of an unofficial oversight committee, but the people here knew exactly what they were. This was not oversight. This was resistance. Jason Grant arrived first, stepping out of a plain black SUV, his face sharp with focus. Two guards at the old gatehouse saluted silently and waved him through. The base entrance, hidden behind a wall of rock and ice, opened with a deep mechanical hiss. Emily Carter followed not long after, carrying a duffel bag filled with devices she wasn't supposed to have: alien sensors, a translator core, and a thin black chip she had pulled from one of the data terminals inside the council ship. She hadn't told anyone about it yet, not even Jason. Inside, dust still coated most of the halls, but the command center was alive again. Lights glowed across old terminals, power hummed through thick cables, and in the main chamber, a long table had been cleared. Lisa Hawthorne was already there, sleeves rolled up, talking to someone on a scrambled video call. When she saw Emily, she smiled, but her eyes stayed tired. We're pulling in people from every branch, quietly, carefully. No one who's ever spoken to the press. No one with obvious political ties. Only people we know we can trust. Who else is coming? Emily asked. Alan Rodriguez, retired astronaut, served on the Europa Deep Station. He's suspicious of the aliens, too. He's seen how they act when no one's watching, said he'd join us. Jason walked in, brushing snow from his jacket. And I've got us someone who can crack their systems. At that moment, a woman stepped into the room behind him, short, sharp-eyed, with black gloves and a flat expression. This is Dr. Nora Patel, Jason said. Built half the Pentagon's AI systems before she disappeared into the private sector. Nora didn't smile. She simply placed a silver case on the table, opened it, and revealed a mess of wires and glowing chips. The Council uses layered encryption and decentralized relay networks, she said, her voice flat. But their coding patterns have weaknesses: symmetry, overconfidence, and predictable logic trees. Meaning what? Lisa asked. Meaning I can break in. Given time. Jason nodded. You'll have it. 2 days later, the base came fully alive. More people arrived: soldiers, engineers, linguists, hackers. A small force, fewer than 30 people in total, but every single one of them had been vetted and brought in under strict silence. They called the operation Project Prometheus. Emily stood in the newly lit lab wing, watching Nora's fingers dance across a console wired into an alien data hub Jason had smuggled from one of the technology gift sites. "They think we're primitive," Nora said without looking up. "But the arrogance in their tech design tells me they've never faced a species like us before." Emily showed her the black chip she'd hidden. "I pulled this from their ship's biology library." Nora raised an eyebrow. "That's a security risk." "I know," Emily said, "but it's worth it." They scanned it together. The files were encrypted, but not fully. Nora cracked the shell, and they watched as lines of alien script flowed across the screen, then slowly shifted into translated English. The files weren't just about humans. They were about the precursors, a species older than the Council. Fierce, adaptive, fast to learn. The files described a massive war 50,000 years ago, when the precursors had ruled dozens of star systems, only to be overthrown by their own creations. "According to this," Emily whispered, "some of them survived. Fled. Hid." Nora stared at the screen, and Earth is where they went. "They don't know for sure," Emily said, "but they suspect. That's why they've been watching us for so long. That's why they're scared." Jason entered the lab moments later. "You might want to come upstairs," he said. In the main control room, Lisa stood at the table surrounded by maps, space routes, satellite positions, alien ship orbits. Alan Rodriguez stood beside her, pointing to a blinking light in the Indian Ocean. "They're building more stations," Alan said, "disguised as research outposts, but they're placing them near key underwater cable routes, communication lines." Jason frowned. "They're preparing to control global data flow." "Not preparing," Lisa said. "They've already started. 4 governments just reported blackouts, but only in areas near the new council facilities." Nora looked up from her tablet. "Then we need to move faster. Once they control communication, resistance becomes a whisper." Jason tapped the table. "We don't have time for whispers. We need leverage." Emily glanced back at the screen, still showing the precursor data. "We might already have it." There was silence in the room as everyone turned to her. The air seemed to thicken. "What did you find?" Jason asked. Emily turned the screen around to show them. "They think we're descendants of the precursors. Direct descendants. The Council doesn't want Earth to grow. Not because we're weak, but because they think, one day, we won't be." The room stayed quiet for a long time. Then Lisa whispered, "Then we have to make sure that day comes." Jason stared at the glowing data on the screen, his jaw tight. The rest of the team leaned in, silent, as the truth hung heavy in the room. Earth wasn't just another planet being invited into a big, happy space family. Earth was something ancient, something the Council feared. Not because of what humans were now, but because of what they could become. Lisa was the first to break the silence. "If the Council believes we're descended from the precursors, and they've been hiding that, we have a weapon they can't see." Jason nodded. "Knowledge." "Not just that," Emily added. "They've built an empire based on controlling weak, obedient planets. They expect us to be passive. They expect us to follow their rules, accept their gifts, eat their food. Wait, said Alan, raising a hand. The food! Everyone turned to look at him. I've been analyzing the nutritional breakdown of the supplies they're giving us. Energy supplements, water filtration tablets, even those protein bars they handed out to the UN delegation. I ran a scan last night. He opened a file on his tablet. There's a compound in it. Not a poison, not exactly, but something that affects neural chemistry. Subtle stuff. Lowers anxiety, reduces aggressive thinking, makes people more agreeable. Jason's fists clenched. They're drugging us. Lisa sat back, her face darkening. And no one noticed? Alan shook his head. It's not dangerous, not immediately. It mimics serotonin and dopamine activity. But over time, people would just stop pushing back. Slowly, quietly. They'd feel at peace with everything, even slavery. The room buzzed with quiet outrage. They're preparing the planet for long-term obedience, Nora said, voice hard. Not with guns, with chemistry, data control, and policy. Then we need to hit back before that peace becomes permanent, Jason said. He looked around the room. We need to expose them. All of it. The drugging, the false peace, the truth about the precursors, and their plan to turn Earth into a resource colony with a leash. But how? Lisa asked. We don't control any networks. We can't go public without proof. Real, undeniable proof. Nora straightened. Then we steal it. Jason turned to her. From where? Their flagship. The Unity of Stars. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Emily frowned. That ship is locked down tighter than a vault. Their tech runs on hybrid neural electronic systems. Security alone. Nora held up a small device, a disc no wider than her palm. This is a Trojan program I designed, built off their own code structure. If I can get within 30 meters of a primary access node, I can insert it. It'll unlock their secure files and send copies to our off-grid servers. Stealing their secrets right under their nose, Jason said. You're sure it'll work? Nora gave the faintest hint of a smile. It already has. I've tested it on the Council's embassy systems here on Earth. Their cybersecurity isn't built to stop us. They don't think we're capable. Alan leaned forward. How do we get her on the ship? Lisa folded her arms. Leave that to me. 2 days later, Lisa stood in front of the Council's human liaison team in Geneva, dressed in a sleek navy suit and wearing a small silver pin shaped like Earth's continents, a symbol of the peace delegation. Her tone was professional, her posture relaxed. I believe the Earth delegation would benefit from seeing the unity of stars firsthand, she said calmly. As a gesture of mutual trust, our people need to believe this partnership is built on openness. Ambassador Ryloth studied her with his unreadable eyes. We will consider it? Lisa gave him a soft smile. Of course. Just think what a positive message it would send to the people of Earth. Within hours, approval came through. A small delegation would be allowed to board the Unity of Stars. 2 scientists, 1 military liaison, and 1 diplomatic envoy. Unarmed, monitored, but allowed. Jason selected the team. He would go as the liaison. Emily as the lead scientific representative. Lisa as the diplomat. And Nora presented as a systems consultant. All 4 memorized the cover roles, rehearsed every movement, drilled every emergency escape option. They wore hidden recorders, emergency signal jammers, and false identity chips. Nora carried the Trojan program inside a necklace that looked like a family heirloom. When the day came, a sleek silver shuttle descended from the sky and landed on a hidden pad near the Council's embassy. It opened with a sound like breaking ice, and they stepped inside. The trip to orbit was silent. The stars turned slowly outside the small round windows as Earth faded beneath them. And then, there it was, the unity of stars. A ship so massive it blocked out the sun for a full 10 seconds as they approached. Shaped like a floating cathedral, with long arms of silver and blue light, it pulsed with alien energy. Dozens of smaller craft moved around it like fish around a whale. Inside, the halls were silent, glowing softly, covered in what looked like liquid metal veins. The air was thick, warm, and carried a scent that wasn't quite floral, but close. Ryloth met them at the airlock, flanked by two tall guards with obsidian-colored armor. "Welcome aboard," he said. "You are the first humans to set foot on our command vessel. Please do not stray from the guided path." They nodded, smiled, played their parts. As they toured the ship, Emily asked innocent questions. Jason made observations about structure and defense. Lisa charmed every alien they passed, and Nora waited. Finally, they reached a side corridor that housed a data relay junction. It wasn't marked. Most would have missed it. But Nora's visor, which looked like regular reading glasses, highlighted the node in blue. "Jason," she said quietly, "I'm going to trip and fall." "What?" "Just catch me. Block their view." She stumbled, dropped to the ground. Jason knelt beside her, arms around her shoulders, whispering urgently. While Lisa argued calmly with the escorting guard about allowing time for recovery, Nora reached into her pocket, pressed her necklace to the wall, and slid it across the surface. The Trojan injected itself in 5 seconds. She felt it vibrate once. Data was already on the move. That night, back on Earth, deep inside Project Prometheus, Nora stood in front of a wall of screens. "I'm in," she said quietly. The others gathered around. Images flickered, documents, videos, code. Hundreds of files from the Unity of Stars began downloading to their secure offline system. Jason leaned in. "Tell me we got something big." Nora didn't answer. She simply opened a file labeled Classified Galactic Control Protocols, Tier Alpha. It showed maps of other worlds, before and after images, notes about resource extraction quotas, plans for population influence, neural programming, controlled rebellions staged as distractions. Then she opened another file. Subject, Earth. Precursor, status, monitored high risk. The screen filled with notes and genetic analyses. Estimated potential, category red. Risk factor, uncontained. Control, recommendation. Full integration, or eventual neutralization. No one spoke. Jason looked at Emily. "They're not just planning to control us," he said. "They've already planned for what to do if they can't." The room was still. The air charged with something unspoken, but heavy. Jason slowly leaned back from the screen, his face like stone. Across the table, Emily Carter's hands trembled, not out of fear, but clarity. The mask was gone. The Council had never wanted peace. They wanted control, and they were willing to destroy Earth if it didn't comply. They have contingency plans, Emily whispered. Poison protocols, weaponized biology, ship lockdowns, even orbital strike patterns on us. Lisa stood against the far wall, arms crossed tightly. We were never guests. We were a problem. Something to be dealt with if things didn't go their way. Alan Rodriguez turned from the screens, the lines of his face tense with anger. Then it's time we stop pretending. That night, Lisa made the decision that would change everything. She would return to the council's negotiation table as if nothing had changed. She would wear the same smile, the same pin on her lapel. But this time, she wouldn't be coming alone. Project Prometheus had grown. With Nora's help, Emily's team had managed to patch into the council's planetary relay system. The Trojan worm had done more than just download secrets. It had given Earth a voice. A loud one. 24 hours before Earth's official signing ceremony with the Galactic Council, they sent their own message. Not to the Council, but to the galaxy. Using the relay node Nora's virus had unlocked, they broadcasted everything, the control protocols, the drugging of humans, the histories of other conquered worlds, and most importantly, the genetic link to the precursors. It was raw, unfiltered, undeniable. A digital shout that echoed across space. Some alien civilizations ignored it. Others panicked. A few immediately cut ties with the Council. But more importantly, for the first time in 1,000 years, member species questioned the Council's rule. On Earth, things moved quickly. Protests erupted across major cities, not against aliens but against the signing, against obedience. People demanded answers, demanded freedom. The illusion of unity shattered, and fear gave way to anger, to purpose. The Council responded in kind. Massive ships began moving into Earth orbit. Not just one or two, but dozens. The unity of stars remained at the center of the formation, now ringed by heavily armed cruisers. Earth's skies filled with shadows. A warning transmission arrived at midnight. You have violated the terms of peaceful integration, Ambassador Ryloth said, his voice now stripped of charm. You will return what you have stolen. You will stand down, or Earth will face full containment. Jason looked around the command center of Project Prometheus, now lit up with red emergency lights. Containment means orbital weapons, plasma strikes, mass disruption pulses. We can't stop that, Alan said grimly. Not all of it. No, Jason said, but we can make it hurt. Ryan Brooks, the former Navy SEAL and tactical leader of the team, stepped forward. We've been training people all over the world, special units using council weapons, small teams, quiet ops. They want a clean conquest, Lisa said. We make it messy. Emily nodded. We don't need to win in space. Not yet. We just have to break the illusion. Show them Earth is more than a resource planet, that we're dangerous, that we think. And so, as the final day arrived, Earth prepared. Above Geneva, the alien fleet formed a blockade. Inside the alien embassy, a massive hall was prepared for the signing ceremony. Ryloth stood at the front, tall and calm, surrounded by cameras and representatives from both Earth and the Council. Lisa walked in, wearing the same pin, the same calm expression. Jason stood nearby in uniform. Emily and Alan stood within the Earth delegation. Nora was hidden in a maintenance corridor, already inside their systems. Everything was quiet, Still. Then the screens behind Ryloth flickered. Footage appeared, real footage of the Council's secret meetings, the Precursor's history, the experiments on other worlds, the drugging of humans. It played in every language, across the globe, across the stars. Ryloth's expression didn't change, but his skin dimmed slightly. "This is unauthorized," he said. Lisa stepped forward. "So was your plan." The hall exploded into shouts. Some council ambassadors turned to leave. Others argued. Ryloth stepped back, speaking into a hidden communicator. But it was too late. At that moment, Nora triggered the second half of her program. Lights across the unity of stars dimmed. Its weapon systems went dark. Every internal sensor went blind. Across orbit, Council ships lost contact with each other. The blockade crumbled, not from violence, but from confusion. And then came the final blow. A dozen Council-aligned ships broke ranks. Smaller species, long manipulated, now emboldened by Earth's rebellion and the uncovered truth. They turned on the fleet, not to destroy, but to liberate. In less than an hour, the Council lost control of Earth. In less than a day, it began to lose control of the galaxy. 6 months later, the unity of stars sat in orbit above Earth. But now, it flew a new banner. Inside its great hall, now repurposed as a chamber for cooperation, leaders from over 80 species met, not as rulers and subordinates, but as equals. The Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds had been formed. Its charter was simple. Every voice counts. Every species deserves freedom. No one rules alone. Lisa Chen stood at the center, Earth's first ambassador to the stars. Jason now led the interspecies defense fleet, patrolling the space lanes once dominated by fear. Emily Carter oversaw a multi-species research initiative, already solving problems once thought impossible. Nora's AI systems now protected, not enslaved, entire worlds. Earth had gone from being a target to a symbol, not of war, not of power, but of resistance, of unity, of what happens when you underestimate the will to be free. And as the stars turned above them, brighter than they had ever seemed before, Jason stood beside Emily on the deck of the Unity of Stars, watching distant planets glimmer across the void. "We were never just humans," she said quietly. "We were always something more." Jason smiled. "Now the galaxy knows."